The coppery scent of blood was the first thing I registered, thick and cloying in the damp air of the boathouse. The second was the weight of his hand, surprisingly heavy, clamped around my wrist. Dante Volkov's breathing was a ragged, wet sound in the sudden quiet. A beautiful stain, crimson and wide, blossomed across the front of his pristine white shirt, spreading from the place where I had buried the knife. His eyes, the color of storm clouds, were fixed on my face, searching for something I no longer possessed. That night, he rasped, a trickle of blood escaping the corner of his mouth. In the rain, when you took a bullet for me. He coughed, a shudder racking his powerful frame. Our child. His grip tightened, a final, desperate plea. Was any of it real, Vivian? Just tell me that was real. 4 years earlier, I became the most cherished possession of Viridian City's most dangerous man in a single year. For years together, and everyone in his circle knew I loved him to the point of self-destruction. I'd walked through fire for him, taken a bullet for him, and mastered the art of being the perfect, obedient woman who understood his every whim. They all believed I would be his wife. They called me Luna, the she-wolf to their alpha. They called me Mrs. Volkov in hushed, respectful tones. Until his first love came back. Until, in a moment of life or death, he shoved me in front of a gun to save her. What he didn't know was that I had just received a positive pregnancy test that very morning. The bullet ripped through my abdomen. I miscarried, hemorrhaging on the cold pavement. That was the first time I saw him, a man forged in ice and cruelty, break down and sob. He knelt on the ground, cradling me begging me not to die, begging me to forgive him. He swore he loved me, only me. But I didn't love him, not one bit. Because the man I truly loved was a cop. And 5 years ago, on the night before our wedding, Dante Volkov had put a bullet through his head. On the 4th anniversary of becoming Dante Volkov's mistress, he told me he wanted to marry me. The reason he gave was the same old litany: I was sensible, obedient, and I bore a striking resemblance to his first love, Penelope Marsden. I had always known my place. I was a substitute. For 4 long years, on every night he was haunted by her memory, he would pull me into a tangled mess of limbs and desperation. He once told me that my face, flushed and tear-streaked in the throes of passion, was when I looked most like her. His love, if you could call it that, was never truly mine. My friends tried to console me, pointing out that even when he was head over heels for Penelope, he never once mentioned marriage. But now, he wanted to marry me. Everyone around him, including his most hardened lieutenants, insisted that Dante loved me. He just didn't know it himself. Dante would make me breakfast. He would wake me with a soft murmur against my hair. He tolerated my every whim and spoiled me with endless patience. When I offhandedly mentioned wanting a proper proposal, he spent weeks meticulously planning it himself, like a teenager fumbling through his first love. Everyone was certain I was destined to be his wife. For a moment, I was the most envied woman in all of Viridian City. Then, just before the wedding, Penelope Marsden returned. And on that very same day, I found out I was pregnant. And on that very same day, Dante Volkov decided he didn't want me anymore. He first met Penelope when she was working at the Crimson Veil, a high-end private club that catered to the city's elite. Her mother's gambling addiction had apparently devoured their family fortune, and her father had vanished, leaving her to support a younger brother. Desperate, she had turned to the one place where a beautiful woman could make a fortune overnight. She entered our private suite with a line of other dancers, and the moment her eyes met Dante's, I saw it, a flicker of shock, followed by a sharp, desperate lowering of her head. She clearly hadn't wanted him to recognize her. But fate, or perhaps the cruel club manager, had other plans. As he was leaving, the manager shoved her forward, and she stumbled, landing right beside Dante. Dante, a cigarillo dangling from his lips, had his eyes closed, his head resting against my shoulder. "Get the hell away from me," he growled, his voice a low threat. "If my woman gets upset, I'll send you to heaven myself." A chorus of sycophantic coos and sighs rippled through the women around us, all marveling at how utterly besotted Dante was with me. Penelope's hands clenched into fists. She tugged at her skimpy dress, her gaze flicking towards me for a split second. I saw it clearly. Resentment and pure, undiluted envy. A woman next to her, perhaps an old rival, suddenly grabbed her arm and pulled her to the center of the room. "Penelope," she chirped with malicious glee. "The gentlemen want to see some pole dancing. You're the best we've got. Show them what you can do." The name hung in the air, instantly silencing the room. Dante's eyes snapped open. The hand intertwined with mine tightened, his knuckles digging into my bones. The pain was sharp, electric. Humiliation, or perhaps shame, sent a tremor through Penelope's body. Tears welled in her eyes, and she turned to flee. But Dante was faster. He shot out a hand, grabbing her arm and yanking her back onto the seat beside him. The next second, his fingers wrapped around her throat. He pulled her close, his voice a venomous whisper, teeth gritted. "Penelope, didn't I tell you? If I ever saw your face again, I would kill you." Everyone in this room knew the story. Penelope Marsden was Dante Volkov's first love. And everyone knew how spectacularly it had ended. At the peak of their romance, during a petty argument, Penelope had stormed out and climbed into the bed of Dante's then best friend. She'd even filmed it, sending the video to Dante with a taunting message, detailing every way his friend was a better lover. That year, Dante nearly drank himself to death, ending up in the hospital a dozen times. He almost died on my operating table. I was the surgeon who saved his life. After that, Dante never mentioned her name again. No one dared to. We all assumed he hated her with every fiber of his being. But I knew better. He had never let her go, not even after she had shredded his pride and left him for dead. Someone in the crowd jeered, "Where's your man, Penny? Can't he support you? Or did he send you out to earn his keep?" The words were vile. Even I flinched. I frowned and shot the man a warning glare. He immediately shut up. I hesitated, then gently tugged on the sleeve of Dante's jacket. Whatever the reason, it can't be easy for a woman to do this kind of work. Please, don't make it harder for her. Dante looked at me, his eyes cold as chips of ice. This is between her and me. It's not your place to interfere. I froze. My hand dropped from his sleeve as it burned. A flicker of triumph, or maybe mockery, crossed Penelope's face as she saw his reaction. A small, secret smile played on her lips. Her gaze on me was pure contempt. She raised a trembling hand, her tears now flowing freely, and caressed his cheek. "Dante," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You can't marry a woman you don't love just because you miss me. It hurts me. The thought of it is killing me." The tears fell, big and heavy, splashing onto the back of his hand. "Dante, I've always wanted to tell you. What you saw back then, with him, he forced me. He was always forcing me, and that's why I..." Dante's brow furrowed. His grip on her throat loosened, the murderous rage from moments ago vanishing like smoke. Penelope seized the opportunity, collapsing into his arms, her sobs shaking her entire body. He didn't push her away. Her story was impossible to verify. The man in question had been tortured to death by Dante years ago, but it didn't matter. Dante's heart was softening. Or perhaps, he simply no longer cared about the truth. In front of everyone, he gently stroked her earlobe, his voice a low, soothing murmur. "Shoo, don't cry. It's okay. I'll take you home." A hushed whisper cut through the silence. "So, if the Don and Penelope are back together, what happens to Vivian?" A contemptuous scoff answered. "What do you think happens? She's out. The original is back. A substitute has to know when to pack her bags and disappear." Dante heard them. He said nothing. Before, he would have ripped out the tongue of anyone who dared to speak of me with such disrespect. But now, Penelope was back. The woman he truly wanted to cherish, the woman he truly wanted to love, was right in front of him. Why would he care about me? That night, Dante brought Penelope back to our home. The home that had been, until that moment, ours alone. I walked behind them. Before stepping inside, Penelope glanced back at me over her shoulder. She clung to Dante's arm, her voice dripping with false concern. "Dante, maybe we should let Miss Devereux find a new place tomorrow. It's so late now. It's not safe for a woman to be out alone at night. Look at her, already so eager to kick me out." I smiled at her, and in the next second, I pulled the SIG Sauer P226 from my handbag and pressed its cold muzzle against her forehead. "You don't get to make the rules here." Penelope's face went white with terror. She looked helplessly at Dante. He didn't speak immediately. Instead, he pulled a cigarillo from his pocket, lit it, and leaned against the doorframe. He reached out and gently pushed my gun down. Then his hand moved to my neck, his touch surprisingly warm. "Vivian," he said softly. "I told you. The gun is for protection. Not for playing tough in my house. Go home," he said. He led Penelope inside, leaving me standing alone at the door. Abandoned. Forgotten. I knew I should leave. But it wasn't time yet. I had to marry Dante Volkov. It was the entire point. So I swallowed my pride, buried my emotions, and walked upstairs to my own room on the second floor. When I opened the door, I found Penelope standing in front of my mirror, wearing my silk robe. "Sorry about that, Miss Devereux. I wasn't really trying to kick you out," she said with a smug smile. "Oh, and I heard from Dante that you saved his life. He's a man who values loyalty, you know. And lucky for you, so am I. Don't worry, I've already talked to Dante. You can stay. We'll be like sisters. That surgeon's salary of yours can't be much. From now on, I'll take care of you." She walked to the door and pointed down the hall, towards the staff quarters at the far end. "You can take that room. Don't be shy. Make yourself at home." It was almost laughable. I gave her a cold, dismissive look, then slapped her across the face, hard. "Who the hell do you think you are to give me orders?" I snarled. I grabbed her by the arm and threw her out into the hallway like a bag of trash, then slammed and locked the door. It was around 3 or 4 in the morning when he came in. I was sitting by the bay window, a glass of red wine in my hand, watching the full moon. "What?" I asked softly, not turning around. "Are you here to stand up for Penelope?" Dante didn't answer. He just grabbed the collar of my robe and pulled me back into his arms. He let out a low chuckle and kissed me. "I'm here to appease my wife." Tears instantly welled in my eyes. I turned my head and bit down hard on his lip. The metallic taste of blood mixed with my salty tears, a bitter cocktail we shared between our lips. I don't know how long we were lost in that desperate, angry kiss. But just as I started to melt into him, he whispered against my ear, his voice a silken command. "Be a good girl. You're always so good for me. Go and apologize to Penelope. I don't like it when she cries. It's bad for her health." Vivian, I know you're the most reasonable one. Don't make this difficult for me while I'm still in a good mood. I laughed, a broken sound. Then I looked up at him, tears streaming down my face. Alright. The news that Dante had forced me to apologize to Penelope spread through Viridian City like wildfire. To avoid further conflict between us, Dante bought Penelope a penthouse apartment downtown and set her up there. Everyone was saying it was only a matter of time before he dumped me. The original was back, after all. The substitute's time was up. I ignored the whispers, focusing on playing the part one had perfected over the last 4 years. Our wedding was scheduled for 2 weeks later. I counted down the days, a habit Dante found endearing. He would toy with my fingers and ask softly, "Are you that desperate to marry me?" "It's my life's greatest wish," I'd coo, wrapping my arms around his neck. He'd smile, a rare, genuine expression, then pull a magnificent Cartier ring from his pocket and slide it onto my finger. It was a Destiny solitaire, the diamond catching the light like a trapped star. "Happy birthday, my fiancé," he'd murmur. Today was my birthday. After giving me the ring, Dante left, saying he had business to attend to. I didn't ask. I just stared at the ring, a giddy, triumphant feeling swelling in my chest. Perhaps feeling guilty for leaving me alone on my birthday, he had arranged for a small celebration at a nearby restaurant with some of my closer friends from his circle. When I arrived, I was surprised to see Penelope was there too. She saw me and walked over, her smile laced with poison. "Vivian," she said sweetly. "I hope you don't mind me being here. I'm so sorry, by the way. Last time, when Dante made you apologize to me, I told him it wasn't necessary. But he insisted. He said he couldn't bear to see me wronged. It's all his fault you've been so unhappy these past few days. You know, I actually quite like you. I'd love for us to be friends. Please don't hate me, okay?" I watched her little performance in silence, calmly tucking a stray strand of hair behind my ear. The afternoon sun was brilliant. The diamond on my finger caught a ray of light, sending a blinding flash that made Penelope gasp. Her eyes, now red-rimmed, fixed on the ring. "Dante, he gave you that ring?" she whispered, her voice trembling. I smiled, a gentle, serene expression. "I'm his wife. If he doesn't give it to me, who should he give it to? You?" By now, everyone had gathered around, their attention fixed on the ring. "Luna, this is incredible," one of them gushed. "After all these years, all the times you nearly died for the boss. He remembers everything. I think I saw that ring at his estate once," another added. "He guarded it like it was his own heart." "Luna, can we have a closer look?" The chorus of admiration made Penelope's face grow darker and more strained with every word. I took off the ring, about to pass it around, when Penelope suddenly lunged forward and shoved me. I fell to the ground, the ring flying from my hand and sinking into the calm, blue water of the infinity pool. The fall was hard. As I pushed myself up, a sharp, cramping pain shot through my abdomen. Penelope immediately feigned panic, her face a mask of tearful remorse. "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Vivian, I didn't mean to. It was an accident. But don't worry," she added, her tone shifting to one of condescending reassurance. "Dante listens to everything I say. I'll have him buy you an even better one. He'd buy me anything I ask for, you'll see." I looked at her, my expression cold and flat. "No need to bother. You dropped it, you can get it back. After all, Dante's money doesn't grow on trees, does it?" Before anyone could react, I grabbed a handful of her hair and shoved her face down into the water. Penelope screamed, thrashing wildly. The scene erupted into chaos. Suddenly, a voice cut through the pandemonium. "The boss is here." Everyone froze. There he was, holding a bouquet of baby's breath, my favorite. He must have been planning a surprise. Penelope seized the moment, pushing me away and scrambling into Dante's arms. "Dante," she sobbed hysterically. She threw it away. She threw away the locket my mother left me. It was the only thing I had left of her, the only thing. Her locket. Honestly, I hadn't even seen it. It must have fallen off somewhere in the scuffle. My hand clenched into a fist, my nails digging into my palm. I ignored the throbbing pain in my belly and forced myself to speak calmly. "I never touched her locket. But she threw our wedding ring into the pool. Dante, the ring you gave me, it's gone. I can't find it." Before I could finish, he cut me off, his voice like ice. "It's just a ring. Is it that important?" I stood there, stunned. After a moment, a bitter laugh escaped my lips. "Dante," I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. "The wedding ring you gave me. Is it really not important?" "Vivian, Penelope's locket is an antique. It was the last gift from her mother," he said, each word a heavy stone. "A ring can be replaced. A one-of-a-kind heirloom cannot. Can it?" He tossed the bouquet of baby's breath into a nearby trash can. His order was cold and final. "Vivian, you lost it. Now you will find it." Someone beside me spoke up. "Boss, Luna, she doesn't look well." Penelope immediately jumped in, her voice a model of feigned generosity. "Dante, let it go. I know Vivian dislikes me. If this makes her feel better, I don't mind. So what if I've lost the only thing I have left of my mother? I don't blame her. I'll look for it myself. Please, don't hurt Vivian's feelings because of me." Dante ignored her, but his gaze on me softened slightly. "Where are you not feeling well?" I forced a brittle smile. "I'm fine," I said, turning away. Then, I walked over to the manicured, waterlogged flower beds beside the pool and began to search. The early autumn air was cold, chilling me to the bone. It was past 3 in the morning when I finally found her so-called locket. I took it to her penthouse. The moment she opened the door, I saw him. Dante was shirtless, his muscular torso glistening with sweat or water. Penelope, dressed in a flimsy silk negligee, gave me a triumphant, provocative smile. We were just working up a sweat. Had to take a shower. Vivian, please don't misunderstand. And don't be angry with Dante, okay? He just didn't want to see me upset. It wasn't personal. Dante's eyes met mine. He saw me standing there, soaked to the skin, shivering in the cold night wind. He frowned and walked towards me. He pulled me into his arms, trying to warm me with his own body heat. Couldn't you have just said something nice to me? He muttered, a hint of frustration in his voice. Where's all that sweet-talking charm you usually have? I gently pushed him away and handed the locket to Penelope. A self-deprecating smile touched my lips. I don't feel like being charming anymore, Dante. Your heart is harder than stone. I can't warm it, and I don't want to try anymore. I know you care for Penelope. You can't stand to see her cry. Here, I found her locket. Go comfort her, and you don't need to keep her hidden away in this apartment like some dirty secret. It's not fair to her. Also, please give me 2 days. Just 2. I will be out of your estate by then, Mr. Volkov. I turned to leave, but he grabbed my arm, his voice dropping to a dangerous, icy tone. So we're not getting married? I looked back at him, my eyes burning with unshed tears, and forced a smile. You don't want to marry me, and I don't want to marry you anymore. It's for the best. I twisted my wrist, trying to break free, but his grip only tightened, threatening to crush the bones. In a fit of desperation, I lunged forward and bit his hand. Hard. I tasted blood. With a low curse, he slammed me against the wall, his hand closing around the back of my neck. He pressed his lips to my ear, his whisper a chilling threat. Who was it that said marrying me was her life's greatest wish? Vivian, were those just empty words? Well, too bad. I took them seriously. You want to run now? I'm telling you, it's too late. That night, Dante left Penelope and took me back to the estate. He dragged me into the master bathroom, turned on the hot water, and crushed his lips to mine. The kiss was fierce, punishing, and yet, somewhere beneath the anger, there was a desperate attempt to soothe me. For once, I refused to yield. I fought him, my stubbornness fueling his frustration. Finally, he broke away, breathing heavily, a wry laugh escaping his lips. Vivian, you listen to me. No one is taking you away from me. Not even Penelope. He said he only felt pity for her. He swore that nothing physical had happened between them. The working up a sweat and the shower? He claimed she'd been feeling unwell, so he'd taken her through a light workout on the treadmill. He said, he thought he was falling in love with me. After that night, Dante seemed to grow cold towards Penelope. He came home on time every day. We ate together, talked, went for walks. He drove me to the hospital for my shifts and picked me up when I was done. We were like any other ordinary couple. Everyone said he had never been so patient with any woman before. Then, just before the wedding, Penelope announced she was leaving. It was Dante's birthday. I was going to tell him about the baby. But before I could, Penelope showed up at the estate, suitcase in tow. We promised we would always be there for each other, she said softly to Dante. But I don't think I can be here for you anymore. Vivian hates me. As long as I'm here, she'll be unhappy, and it will affect your relationship. So, I have to go. Please, thank her for me. And now that I'm gone, ask her to take good care of you. Dante's expression hardened. We agreed, he said through gritted teeth. We would be like family. I told you I would take care of you. Vivian is a good girl. She's sensible. She'll listen to me. Why do you have to leave? Penelope forced a sad smile, tears glistening in her eyes. Dante, can you really just see me as family? All those years ago, we held each other, we kissed, all those sweet, unforgettable moments. Can you honestly say you've forgotten? She waited for his answer. He remained silent, his jaw tight. Suddenly, her voice rose to a desperate cry. You might be able to, but I can't. I don't want to be just your family, Dante. I still love you. How am I supposed to stay here and watch you marry someone else? Have children with them? My heart is breaking, don't you understand? She pulled up her sleeve, revealing a latticework of old, faded scars on her wrist. I have depression, Dante. Severe depression, she cried. If you don't love me, I will die. Do you get that? But I know, you don't care about me anymore. She turned and walked away, her departure swift and decisive. Dante didn't hesitate for a second. He ran after her. A storm had broken outside. I stood at the window, watching them in the pouring rain, a tangled mess of desperation and pain, until they disappeared from my sight. A sudden, sharp panic seized my heart. I had a terrible feeling that if I let him go with her this time, he truly wouldn't come back. He wouldn't marry me. He wouldn't want me anymore. I had to get him back. I had to. I ran out into the deluge. I found them huddled by a garden wall. Penelope was wrapped in his arms, sobbing. Dante was holding her, trying to shield her from the rain. Dante, if you don't love me anymore, why did you come after me? She wailed, beating her fists against his chest. Why? Vivian was just my replacement, but now she has everything that should have been mine. I have nothing now, Dante. My mother is dead, my father is gone. My brother is abroad. I don't even have a home. I have nothing. He let her vent, his voice a gentle murmur against her hair. Shoo, it's okay. Calm down. I'm here. Penelope, I will always be with you. I will never leave you. You want a home? I'll give you a home. Everything Vivian has, you will have too. I'll give you more, better things. Only for you. Okay? I stood frozen, watching this tender version of Dante. He felt so distant, so unreachable. I didn't know what to do to hold on to him, to stop him from leaving me. Penelope, still clinging to him, looked over his shoulder. Her eyes met mine. She was smiling, a faint, contemptuous, triumphant smile. I heard her ask him, "You never really loved Vivian, did you? You were just using her to make me jealous, right?" Dante didn't answer. She pressed him. "Say it. You don't love her. You love me. You've always loved me. Isn't that right? Dante, if you don't make me happy right now, I'm not going back with you. I'll really leave this time. I'll disappear, and you'll never find me again." He sighed, a sound of weary resignation. He managed a small, tired smile. "Yes. You're right. Everything you said is right. I still love you, okay? Now can we please go home?" Penelope pouted. "I don't believe you. Not unless you kiss me." She closed her eyes, a sweet, expectant smile on her face. "Kiss me, Dante." For the first time, I lost control. "Dante, no." I screamed, my voice raw. "We're getting married. Can't you show me just a little of the pity you show her? Just a little bit." He turned his head and looked at me, his expression unreadable. Penelope, nestled in his arms, shot me a triumphant smirk. But in the next second, her expression crumbled back into one of tearful desperation. She pulled a small fruit knife from her purse and pressed it to her own throat. "Dante, make her leave," she shrieked. "Make Vivian go away. I never want to see her again. If you don't want to lose me forever, you'll make her disappear. Tell her to get the hell out of my sight and never come back." He nodded. "Okay." He turned to me. His voice was cold, devoid of any emotion. "Penelope is not stable right now. I don't want to upset her any further. Vivian, just go." My body trembled. I fought back a sob, my voice a hoarse shout. "Dante, I have something to tell you. I'm pregnant." He froze. Even Penelope was speechless, her eyes wide, staring at me. I reached into my pocket for the folded medical report. But before I could pull it out, a gunshot cracked through the night. Penelope screamed and burrowed deeper into Dante's arms. He held her tight, shielding her with his body, leaving me alone, trembling at the sound of the gun. I had faced death with him countless times, saved his life more than I could count. But he knew I was terrified of gunfire. He used to cover my ears, teasing me for being a coward. But now, the man who used to cover my ears and promised to protect me forever was holding another woman, and I was on my own. More shots rang out. I instinctively crouched down, a sharp, numbing pain suddenly exploding in my abdomen. A wave of hot blood soaked through my white dress. I heard him scream my name. "Vivian." His voice was raw with panic, with terror, with a complete loss of his usual iron control. He was crying, repeating "I'm sorry" over and over again, begging me not to die, not to leave him. But he had forgotten. Just moments ago, he had told me to go. He was the one who was leaving me. I smiled up at him, my hand weakly pulling the crumpled, blood-stained medical report from my pocket. "Dante," I whispered, my voice faint. "Look, our baby. What a shame. We'll never get to meet him." That night, I had a miscarriage. The gunshot wound, combined with the massive blood loss, nearly killed me. The doctors fought for a day and a night to pull me back from the brink. I was bedridden for a long time afterward, our wedding indefinitely postponed. The man who shot me, I was told, was an old enemy of Penelope's family. Apparently, her mother had swindled him out of a large sum of money before she died, and he had come seeking revenge. The timing, he claimed, was a coincidence. It had nothing to do with her, she insisted. But it was too convenient, too perfectly timed. As if Penelope had paid him to kill me. She came to my hospital room, holding my hand, her tears flowing like a river. "Vivian, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault. All my fault. If only Dante hadn't been so focused on protecting me, if he hadn't forgotten about you, you wouldn't be lying here." "Shut up," Dante's voice, raspy and raw, cut her off. "Get the hell out." Penelope stood up, her face a mask of wounded disbelief. "Are you kicking me out? Dante, you know, I have depression. Are you abandoning me?" Dante's face was a stone mask. He walked towards the door. "Come out here," he said to her. "We need to talk." Penelope glanced back at me, a flicker of triumph in her eyes. "I'm sick, Vivian," she whispered conspiratorially. "Dante would never abandon me. Don't be mad at him, okay? I'll come see you again tomorrow." She hurried out after him, deliberately leaving the door ajar so I could hear everything. A moment later, I heard a sickening thud. I slowly opened my eyes. Dante had Penelope pinned against the wall, his hand clamped around her throat. The veins in his neck and arms bulged, a terrifying display of controlled rage I had never seen before. How did that man get onto my property? He snarled, each word laced with venom. You know exactly how, don't you? Penelope, I was willing to help you out of respect for our past. But you pushed it too far. Now you listen to me very carefully. For the rest of my life, and in the next life, and the one after that, I will only ever love Vivian Devereux. You want to die so badly? Fine. I'll grant your wish. Penelope's eyes widened in terror, tears streaming down her face as her skin turned a dusky purple. Her body went limp. One of his men stepped forward. Boss, this is a hospital. We can't have a scene. Dante took several deep, ragged breaths before finally releasing his grip. Penelope slumped to the floor like a broken doll. She couldn't speak, just grabbed at the cuff of his pants, shaking her head frantically. The man looked at her, then back at Dante. Boss, what are your orders? A cold, mirthless smile twisted Dante's lips. His eyes were arctic voids. He glanced at the man. She killed my child and nearly killed my wife. What do you think we should do? The man glanced into my room, then answered cautiously, perhaps, we should wait until Luna has recovered. Let her decide. Dante didn't answer. He just pulled out a cigarillo and lit it. It was a silent agreement. I knew he couldn't bring himself to kill her. Not really. The fiery passion of first love leaves an indelible mark. But that was fine. I didn't care. After the incident, Dante never left my side. He treated me like I was made of spun glass, catering to my every need, anticipating my every desire. But it wasn't enough. What I truly wanted, he hadn't given me yet. And I couldn't ask for it directly. That would raise suspicion. I had to provoke him, to fuel his anger, his jealousy, to make him lose his rational mind just enough to do exactly what I wanted. So, one ordinary morning, I decided to leave him. He had just brought up my breakfast, a warm croissant and a glass of milk, to find me packing a suitcase. The smile on his face vanished. What is the meaning of this? He asked, his voice dangerously calm. I took off the Cartier ring, the one Penelope had thrown into the pool, the one Dante had spent hours searching for, and placed it on the nightstand. It means nothing, I said softly. Except that I don't want you anymore. And I don't want to get married. Dante looked at me as if I'd told the world's most absurd joke. He held out the glass of milk, his expression cold. Drink this. He came closer, his hand closing around the back of my neck, his grip firm. There's an old saying I'm fond of, he said, a humorless smile on his lips. Kiss and make up. Vivian, be a good girl. Don't say things that will piss me off. You wouldn't like what I do to you when I'm angry. I shoved him away. The glass of milk tumbled from my hand, shattering on the floor. I didn't care. I stormed towards the door. He saw my bare foot get cut by a shard of glass. With a sharp curse, he scooped me up and threw me onto the bed. He pinned me down, his hand on my throat, his voice a furious growl. Vivian, are you asking for it? I have explained it to you 100 times. That night, I was just trying to calm Penelope down. I was just saying what she wanted to hear. What more do you want from me to believe that you're the one I loved? I looked up at him and laughed. A hollow, empty sound. It doesn't matter, Dante. The truth is, I don't care who you love. Because I have never, ever, truly loved you. He froze, as if someone had hit a pause button. He just stared at me, his eyes boring into mine, trying to dissect my words, to separate the truth from the lie. Suddenly, he bent down and sank his teeth into my neck. He ground his jaw, a low, animalistic growl rumbling in his chest. I could smell my own blood. He was a predator, marking his territory, branding his mate. After a long moment, he finally released me. He pressed his lips to my ear, his warning a hot breath against my skin. Don't you dare say that again, Vivian. When you say you don't love me, it makes me angry. You remember what you promised me. You promised to marry me, to have my children, to give me a home. I believed you. I took it seriously. If you dare to go back on your word, I swear to God, I will kill you. I stared at the blank ceiling, listening to his threats. Where he couldn't see, a small, triumphant smile touched my lips. My tantrums and threats of leaving drove him to the edge. He had no choice but to lock me away in the estate, a beautiful prisoner in a gilded cage. He had Penelope brought before me, a silent offering, leaving her fate in my hands. She was thinner now, her appearance haggard. Life hadn't been kind to her recently. But when she looked at me, her eyes still blazed with the same old hatred and resentment. I knew, if looks could kill, I would have died 1,000 times over. But I also knew Dante wouldn't let her truly suffer. He was too sentimental for that. And that sentimentality was what gave her hope, the hope that she could still win him back. I smiled coldly and walked towards her. I pulled out my gun and pressed the muzzle against her stomach. You owe me 2 bullets, I said softly. 1 for me. And 1 for my child. Penelope gritted her teeth, her voice a defiant sneer. You won't dare, Vivian. You know Dante. No one touches me but him. From the corner of my eye, I saw Dante lounging on the sofa, watching us in silence. Normally, this was my cue to be the good girl. To look to him for permission, for a sign of whether I was allowed to kill her or not. But I was tired of being the good girl. I was so tired of this act. I pulled the trigger. Everyone jumped. Even Dante leaned forward, ready to lunge. But there was no gunshot. The chamber was empty. Penelope's face was ashen, the arrogance gone, replaced by pure terror. She scrambled towards Dante, collapsing at his feet like a frightened dog. I followed her calmly and placed my foot on her back, pressing her down onto the floor before him. I looked down at her terrified face and smiled. "Don't cry. I wasn't really going to kill you just now. I was just playing. Look how scared you are. You know, I find you quite amusing. I think I'll keep you around, for my own entertainment. Penelope, from now on, every day, you're going to face this gun. Maybe it will have a bullet, maybe it won't. It all depends on my mood. So if you want to live, I suggest you try a little harder. Try to please me. Who knows? If you make me happy, maybe I'll be like Dante, and I won't be able to bring myself to kill you." I looked up at him, my smile widening. "What do you say?" Penelope sobbed, pleading with him. "Dante, don't listen to her. She's gone mad. I'm so scared, Dante. You said you couldn't bear to see me scared. You said you cared about me. Are you really going to let her torture me to death?" Dante raised an eyebrow. I could see him wavering, about to speak up for her. Before he could, I placed a hand on my stomach, my voice a soft, broken whisper. "Dante, all those times I got hurt for you. I don't even know what pain feels like anymore. You couldn't bear to see Penelope get hurt, so you asked me to take that bullet for her. And I did. I really did. I just feel so sorry, for the tiny baby in my belly. The one who would have been born in 8 months, the one who would have called you daddy." Dante's throat worked. He reached out and cupped my tear-stained face in his hands, as if holding a priceless treasure. He gently, tenderly, wiped away my tears. "Vivian," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "Whatever makes you happy. Whoever you want to kill. I will do it for you." Penelope called me a madwoman. I think Dante agreed with her. He hired a psychiatrist for me. He said I was sick. Maybe I was. Lately, everything had been going according to my plan, but I could feel it. The force that had kept me going, the will to live, was crumbling. When this was all over, it would collapse completely. On the nights Dante didn't come home, I would take out the old, faded Polaroid I had hidden away. The man in the photo was just a silhouette, his back turned to the camera. I would never have the chance to tell him I loved him again. Lately, a thought kept creeping into my mind. When this is all over, "Nate, can I come and find you?" I must have fallen asleep clutching the photo. When I woke up, it was gone. Penelope was standing by my bed, waiting. She looked at me with a mixture of nervousness and malice. I made a gun with my fingers, aimed at her, and whispered, "Bang." I watched her flinch, a small, satisfying smirk on my lips. I gestured for her to bring the breakfast tray to the bed. "These cherries are delicious," I commented, popping one into my mouth. "You should try one, Penelope. Here, open wide." Her hands were clenched into tight fists. Humiliation warred with fear in her eyes. She knelt by the bed and opened her mouth. I tossed a cherry in, watching her chew. "Good?" I asked. She grit her teeth and forced out the word, "Good." Then, a strange, malicious smile spread across her face. She looked up at me, her eyes gleaming with schadenfreude. "You should eat up, Vivian. Cherries this sweet, you might not get to taste them again for a very long time." I just smiled and said nothing. Dante returned to find me tearing my room apart. He stood silently behind me for a long moment before asking, "What are you looking for?" I froze, then slowly turned around. My answer a little too quick, a little too dismissive. "Nothing." He grabbed my arm and pulled me into his arms. He stared into my eyes, searching. After a moment, a bitter, self-mocking laugh escaped his lips. "Vivian," he asked, his voice a mixture of anger and hurt. "You won't even bother to lie to me anymore?" He held up a hand. Between his fingers was the faded Polaroid. My photo of Nate. It was taken the day he was leaving for his undercover assignment in Viridian City. I was leaning against the doorframe, trying not to cry. I wanted to chain him to me, to stop him from walking into the lion's den. I never imagined that when he left, he would never come back. Nate's profession meant he couldn't leave behind many photos. This one, of his back, was all I had left. That day, he was about to step into hell. I was with his fellow officers, seeing him off. When he left, I cried. But I couldn't stop him. I could only watch him walk away from me. I was always a crybaby. I was 15 when I first met Nate. My aunt and uncle had kicked me out. My parents had died in a car crash, leaving me with nothing but the debts from their failed business. The police had placed me in my uncle's care, but they didn't want the burden. After a week, they threw me out on the street. I hadn't eaten in a day. I was walking and crying, until I saw the hot food bar in a 24/7 diner. I thought, since I have nothing left to live for, I might as well die on a full stomach. I waited until the cashier was distracted, then grabbed a handful of skewers and ran. I shoved the food into my mouth, the sharp bamboo sticks cutting my lips, the savory taste of the meatballs and tofu mixing with the metallic tang of my own blood. I was still stuffing my face when I realized someone was standing in front of me. It was Nate. He raised an eyebrow, a puzzled look on his face. I stared at him, my eyes streaming, wanting to tell him how delicious this food was, the best I had ever tasted. He took a drag from his cigarette, then turned and walked away without a word. Just a faint scent of tobacco left in his wake. I thought he was disgusted with me. A thief, after all. But it didn't matter. Plenty of people were disgusted with me. What was one more? I sat down on a bus stop bench and slowly finished my stolen meal. Then I started to wonder where I should go to die so I wouldn't scare anyone. As I was lost in thought, a plastic bag filled with bread and milk was held out to me. I looked up. It was Nate. He had a handsome, honest face, but the cigarette gave him a slightly roguish air. He told me his name was Nathaniel Corbin. Nate. My Nate. The moonlight haloed him, and in that moment, I understood what tenderness was. He crouched in front of me, stubbed out his cigarette, and looked up at me. Stealing isn't the answer, kid. What's your name? I blinked, stunned, but managed to whisper, Vivian. Vivian Devereux. He wasn't disgusted. He didn't care that I was a thief. He reached out and gently brushed a leaf from my matted hair. Don't be scared, Vivian, he said, his voice soft. I'm Nate. Trust me, everything is going to be alright. That day, Nate became my light. I reached for my photo, but Dante held it out of my reach. He grabbed my throat, his voice a low, furious growl. Who is he? He practically spat the words out, his teeth clenched. Vivian, how dare you love another man behind my back? I cried, but I also laughed, a cold, mocking sound. Behind your back? I told you. I never loved you. Let me be honest with you. Being with you was just a game. A diversion. You can't compare to him. Not even a little bit. His fingers tightened. I couldn't breathe. But I still managed to smile. Dante, you'd better let me go. Or kill me. Because for the rest of my life, I will never, ever love you. Dante suddenly laughed. He released my throat, but pulled me into a crushing hug, trapping me against him. Stop bullshitting me, Vivian, he snarled into my ear. You cried for me, you laughed for me, you were willing to die for me. And now you're telling me you don't love me? Then what the hell was all that? You're sick, Vivian. I'll let it slide this time. But if you think you can get rid of me, you're dead wrong. For the rest of your life, whether you like it or not, you are my woman. Alive, you belong to Dante Volkov. Dead, you'll be his ghost. He ripped the photo to shreds and threw the pieces in my face. In that moment, his jealousy and rage had reached their peak. And of course, that was when Penelope chose to burst in, screaming. Dante, she admitted it. She loves someone else, not you. She never loved you. Why? Why are you still keeping her here? You're so merciful with her. Why were you so cruel to me? What am I? What the hell am I to you? Vivian, you bitch, go to hell. If Dante won't kill you, I will. She lunged at me, a fruit knife in her hand. Dante instinctively pulled me behind him, wrapping his arms around me. The knife plunged into his shoulder. And with that one act, Penelope sealed her fate. A single, deafening gunshot. Dante didn't even turn around. He just fired, and the bullet tore through her body. She collapsed, a look of utter disbelief on her face, and tried to crawl towards him, leaving a long smear of blood on the polished floor. He didn't spare her another glance. He just held me, his voice a desperate whisper. Vivian, I'll never be lenient with her again. Okay? From now on, I will only love you, only cherish you, only protect you. Okay? So, I love you. You have to love me back. I carefully gathered the scattered pieces of the photo and tried to tape them back together. Nate's silhouette was now a shattered mess. I traced the broken lines over and over, my tears falling silently. I bit my lip, fighting back the overwhelming pain. Don't cry, Vivian, I told myself. Nate said everything would be alright. Don't be scared. Dante didn't come to me for a long time after that. When he finally did, he said one thing, we're getting married. The wedding was to be held at St. Jude's Chapel, a beautiful, abandoned church in the mountains. A place I had once said I loved. I had mentioned wanting to get married there before, but he had refused. His lieutenants had objected as well. The chapel was outside his territory. On the wedding day, all the high-ranking members of the Volkov Bratva would be there. It was a massive security risk, so I had never mentioned it again. But now, to please me, he was willing to take that risk. He sent his men to scout the area for weeks, setting up a security perimeter. Getting Dante Volkov to let his guard down was no easy feat. This was the best I could do. On the day of the wedding, he forced me into a Vera-Wang gown, placed a bouquet of baby's breath in my hands, and watched me walk down the aisle towards him. The priest asked me if I would take Dante to be my husband. I stared ahead, my face a blank mask, and said nothing. Dante's eyelashes fluttered. He smiled, a sad, bitter expression. He cupped my face in his hands and leaned in to kiss me. My wife, he whispered against my lips. Say you do. Please. His words were drowned out by the sound of gunshots. Someone screamed, shit, it's the cops. Run. The chapel exploded into chaos. A wall of bodies surrounded Dante, shielding him, knocking me to the ground in the process. Dante drew his gun, his voice a low, commanding roar over the mayhem. Stay calm. Protect my wife. I was dragged to my feet and pulled along as they fled. The mountain terrain was rough. I lost my shoes. My feet were cut and bleeding. One of his men shouted, Boss, we can't take Luna with us. Her blood will leave a trail. Dante kicked the man to the ground, then knelt before me. He ripped a strip of cloth from his own shirt and tightly bound my bleeding foot. He scooped me into his arms, his voice a constant, soothing murmur. Don't be scared, Vivian. I'm here. I won't leave you. He shifted my weight onto his back and said to the others, "Split up. Don't follow me. No need for all of us to die here." He truly was a charismatic leader. Now I understood why the Volkov Bratva had been a cancer in this city for over a decade, impossible to eradicate. He was brilliant. Even with me as a burden, he easily outmaneuvered the police. But I had waited too long for this. Waited too long to see them all brought to justice. Waited too long to see Dante Volkov pay for his crimes. I couldn't let him escape. Quietly, I loosened the bandage on my foot. I deliberately pressed down on the wound, letting fresh blood drip onto the forest floor. By the time he found a shelter in an abandoned boathouse, he saw the bandage, once tight, was now soaked through, my foot bleeding freely. He frowned, and in that moment, my heart was in my throat. He was so smart. I was terrified he would realize I was the mole, and put a bullet in me right then and there. I wasn't afraid of dying. I just couldn't die by his hand. It would be the ultimate humiliation. But he didn't seem to suspect anything. He just silently tore another strip from his shirt and rebandaged my foot. "Such beautiful feet," he said softly, his voice filled with regret. "We can't let them scar. My wife. I'm sorry. Were you scared back there?" He was exhausted, unable to run any further. He just held me, whispering, "It's all my fault. All those times I hurt you because of Penelope. It's such a shame. We could have had a child. We could have been happy. We could have had a lifetime." Suddenly, we heard voices outside. It was 3 of his most loyal men. Dante's network of powerful connections was vast. The 3 men looked at me with a hint of resentment before turning to him, their eyes red. They reported that the police encirclement was too tight, too well planned. A breakout was impossible. Most of the brothers were already dead. As they spoke, a team of police officers closed in. The 3 men stood guard outside, urging Dante to run. No. He couldn't. Night was falling. If he escaped now, it would be impossible to catch him again. My hand slipped into the folds of my thick wedding dress. Strapped to my thigh was a small knife. It was a K-bar, Nate's old service knife. He used to use it to peel apples for me. I drew the knife. In one swift, brutal motion, I plunged it into Dante's abdomen. He was taking off his jacket to drape over my shoulders, to shield me from the cold. The blood spread quickly across his white shirt. He frowned, looking down at my hand, still clutching the knife. In all the years I had been with him, he had never let me get my hands dirty. My hands had always been clean. Dante Volkov was the first person I had ever killed. He looked up, a strange, broken smile on his face. "Why?" he asked. The blood was pouring from him now. He didn't raise his voice, didn't reach for his gun. He just gently covered my hand with his own, his voice raspy with pain. "Vivian, why?" Tears streamed down my face. "Do you remember Nathaniel Corbin?" I asked, my voice shaking. "You killed him. You killed the man I loved. And you have the audacity to ask me why?" Dante thought for a moment, then nodded slowly. A look of sudden, devastating understanding crossed his face. "So, this was all for that hard-headed cop," he said, his voice quiet, filled with a strange sense of resignation. "You know, I'm almost starting to envy him. To have a woman like you, willing to go to hell and back for him. But he was a fool, Vivian. He didn't know how to appreciate you. If I were him, if I had met you sooner, I would have just settled down with you. To hell with being a cop, a gangster, or the night wolf." Hearing him insult Nate, I cut him off viciously. "Dante, shut up. A forged medical report was all it took to fool you. So who's the fool now?" Dante didn't know. The love was fake. The pregnancy was fake. I was crying, and I was laughing. I twisted the knife deeper. "It was all a lie, Dante," I sobbed. "Everything. All of it. All of it was a lie. I waited so long for this. So long. And now, you're finally going to die." I wanted to see him break. To see the agony of betrayal, the rage, the regret. But there was none. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, but he was still smiling. He raised a hand and gently touched my cheek. "It's my own fault. I was blinded by a pretty face. Of all the women who threw themselves at me, Vivian, why did I have to fall in love with you? I guess I deserved this. Those cops, they finally got smart. Why send men to do a job when a woman can do it better? No undercover agent could have gotten past me. Only you, Vivian. The moment I saw you, I lost my mind." He slowly leaned his head against my shoulder, his body growing colder. "It's so cold, Vivian. Don't push me away, okay? Vivian, can you just hold me?" I stared at him, my face a cold mask, and pulled the knife out. Then, with all my remaining strength, I plunged it into his heart. The day Dante Volkov died, I collapsed. It felt as if a string inside me had finally snapped. I was so tired. So incredibly tired. In my dreams, I went back to the place where I first met Nate. That 24/7 diner. I was sitting on the bus stop bench, eating my stolen food, crying, and wondering, how should I die? Where should I die so I wouldn't scare anyone? And then the handsome man with the cigarette held out his hand to me. It was so warm. He was bathed in moonlight, a gentle smile on his face as he ruffled my hair. "Don't be scared," he told me. "Trust me. Everything is going to be alright." That's how long it had been. It took 1 year to plan my revenge and another 4 to become Dante Volkov's most trusted confidant. The remaining 2 years were spent in a psychiatric hospital. My psychiatrist told me I had severe PTSD. The constant tension, the fear, and the act of killing Dante had taken their toll. I would often see him in my dreams. Sometimes, he was the ruthless crime lord, pointing a gun at my head. Other times, he was just a man, holding me, whispering that he loved me. On the day of my release, Nate's former captain, Mark, came to pick me up. He handed me a new ID and a bank card. "The department has compensated you for your service," he said. "Vivian, you've done enough. From now on, live for yourself." "Live for myself?" I smiled, a hollow gesture. "Mark, can I ask you a question?" "Of course." "Was Nate's undercover assignment, did it have to be him?" Mark was silent for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. "Vivian, there are some things. It's better not to know." I understood. There was a traitor in the department. And Nate had been a sacrifice. I didn't take the money. I went back to the city where I had first met Nate. I found a job at a local hospital and tried to live a normal life. But I couldn't escape the ghosts of my past. One day, Mark called me. He told me they had found the mole. It was Dante's psychiatrist. The same one who had treated me. He had been on Dante's payroll for years, feeding him information about police operations. That was why Nate's cover had been blown. That was why he had to die. I hung up the phone and walked to the nearest bridge. I looked down at the dark, swirling water below. The world was so loud, but all I could hear was Nate's gentle voice. "Don't be scared, Vivian. Everything is going to be all right." And Dante's last, desperate question. "Was any of it real, Vivian?" I closed my eyes. The truth was, in those 4 years, there were moments. Moments of warmth, of tenderness, of something that felt dangerously close to real. But I had crushed them. I had killed them, just as surely as I had killed him. "Nate," I whispered to the wind. "I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I'm coming to find you." I took a step forward, and let myself fall into the silence.